let me go to the clock one. Okay, and primarily what is the purpose of clock? All the logic operations work with clock. What is so important in the clock? Why do we consider it? Actually, it's like a heartbeat. Everything, every processor, everything is counted with a clock. Okay, no device today, any SOC, we are not going to, without clock there is no life in the SOC, means it's like a life for an SOC. Clock is important. Okay, and what are the various clocks today? Basically, earlier requirements was we used to have a slow speed clocks, and interfaces the requirements were not much, but given the current scenario, we have a requirement to perform lot of high speed operations. Then there is a requirement to have a high speed clock. But how the clock sources, based on the type of the clock, source of the clock, we are going to have, like we can classify them into multiple things based on the source. Primarily, the first one is the frequency generator, which actually comes from an external one, and there is a normal standalone generator, and usually this is meant only for the debug, because when you go for an handheld or mobile device, you are not going to have an external, you are not going to have a frequency generator along with you. Okay. That the next one happens to be a PLL. PLL is on chip. As all of you might have studied, PLL has an input reference clock, and then it has a feedback loop, and with that the required clock will be generated. And usually in any of the SOC, there could be minimum one PLL and maximum, based on the requirement of each of the component, the corresponding clock or the frequency, the clocks or the multiple PLLs will be enabled. Okay. And one more thing, in the PLL you may have one PLL, but to cater for the requirement of multiple components, what we do is we perform a dividers for it. Okay. Every clock is going to have a, like the corresponding clock dividers will be there, and that will be delivered, and the that will be routed to all the partitions, and we are going to have the operations performed. Okay. And the next one is basically a crystal oscillator. Usually this is the general operation. Basically a reference clock will be given, that is an external clock input. How does the clock come in? That is again from a crystal oscillator. Crystal oscillator can be on chip or off chip basically. In normal thing, based on the way the SOC is designed, usually crystal oscillator primarily generates the required frequency. Usually all the crystal oscillators usually will generate in range of like less than 50 megahertz in general, but the bigger frequencies you need, the higher frequencies you need, the size of the crystal oscillator also will be big. Then usually what the general convention is, we take a lower crystal oscillator which generates a lower frequency, and then have an internal PLL to generate the required high frequency, and that is how the frequency translation happens. Okay. And the next one is on the pairing. Okay. Do we have, usually how are clocks generated? Basically when you have a single clock, single ended clock and differential pair clock. Usually differential clock, what happens is we can actually drive the two clocks, right, the P and N. One will be the actual clock, and the inverted version of the same clock will be driven as a N. Okay. With this, what is the advantage? Actually it reduces the noise, and any of the protocols in general, right, you need not have to apply on to the on chip clock, but wherever the clock communication happens, if you have P and N, primarily it is meant for the noise reduction, and that is where you can have like a clean clock. And because any jitter or anything on the clock, right, will actually give a spurious events, and the total operation of the system can go for a toss. Okay. Having said this one, now let us look how do we generate, or what is the frequency. Usually how are clocks divided? Clocks primarily we divide with using a normal D flip flop. When you connect the Q back to the D in a general one, you are going to define the you are going to have the clock dividers. Okay. And in the usually in the PLLs, right, with an advanced PLL, normal PLL, as you look in this diagram, it is going to have a reference clock, and then it has a feedback loop, and that generates the PLL clock out. But in some of the PLLs, basically with an advanced feature, they are going to have the corresponding dividers over there. With these dividers, you are going to generate the required frequency. In general, what happens is PLL will have a jitter along with it. The quality of the PLL is the main thing which actually controls the complete operation. If there is a noisy PLL or a PLL output, the complete components are actually components misbehave and they are going to malfunction. With that one, usually what we ensure is the quality of the PLL. When we specify a PLL, we will say okay, how many ppms we are going to have. With that will enable us to define the clock quality is more important. Okay. Next thing, as I indicated, a clock is the main thing which goes to all the partitions, and then it's not that all of them are operational at the same time, like how we have at our homes, right? We have a fan running, then whenever it's required we switch on and after that we switch off. In the similar way, every clock is going to have a gating which is performed. Means we are going to have a gate and say that whenever the operation comes into picture, we are going to enable it and then ensure that the clock gating is performed. Okay. And after with this, basically we can